All right, so our last panel of the day. Again, I'm Charles, the president of Hedera. If I haven't met you, I do apologize so far, but it's been pretty busy. Um, this panel is going to be tokenizing consumer engagement, and we have some people here on the panel that interface with consumers at scale that most people typically don't get to in different areas. So let's go from May coming back this way with introductions. Just tell us a little bit about, your company, yourself, and kind of the focus on what your company is. I think it's really interesting the differences between where all of you are actually focused.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm May. I'm the CEO of Hashpack Wallet. We're the leading non-custodial wallet on Hedera. We have access to all of the users, all of the dApps that are building, basically the entire retail ecosystem that lives on Hedera today. We enable it, but also we built it because we came up from when Hedera didn't have a retail ecosystem. I actually wrote the NFT standards on Hedera. I based them off the Ethereum standards, and then I got consensus in the NFT community at the time, and we all built up an NFT ecosystem together, which kicked off Hedera's NFT Summer marketing campaign that was on like the New York Times, Times Square, billboards, everything. It was really fantastic. But I come from a place where we are building real things that are engaging people every single day, which is why this is a really fun talk for me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Allen. I'm the representative on the Governing Council for Australian Payments Plus. AP Plus, as we affectionately call it, run all of Australia's domestic payments infrastructure. So that includes our FPOS, our debit card infrastructure and scheme, our retail real-time payments infrastructure called MPP, our bill payments infrastructure. We've also got a digital identity business called Connect ID, which I built, and a Beam wallet, so a retail wallet for Australians. So we've got all these digital businesses, all payments focused. We've only got 27 million people in Australia, so it's not, it's a big country, but it's not very populated. But every single one of them, well, bar the children, I guess, have regular interactions with one or more of our schemes and services. So it makes Australia a really good testing ground for a lot of this technology. And we've been on the Governing Council for nearly 4 years now. And hopefully I can explain a few of the amazing projects that we've had running on Hedera over that period of time.
Yeah, Xiangshu is my name. I'm leading the global COE organization for digital strategy and blockchain for Mondelez International. As probably you guys know, Mondelez is a top 3 CPG company in the world. And digital transformation is one of the top agenda of our company in the next 3 years. And we invest a lot from the resource as well as from the engagement, for example, like Hedera. So, and try to put it into in spot that we can leading the industrial best practice in digital transformation, not just for the purpose of adding those technology and platform on top of it, but they're really transforming the consumer market in a digital way.
Yeah, thank you all. Xiang, I want to come to you first. So, we talked about tokenizing interesting things, and I mean, we could be talking about tokenizing Oreos at some point. Is that, we may be talking about that, but I think you have a really interesting challenge to overcome. And one of the things that we've talked about before is the paper coupon. Why has the paper coupon been such a challenge for Mondelez when you think about this moving forward, and what kind of prompted you to engage in the research around, well, what if we made these coupons digital? So the challenge, and then what are the advantages you see moving away from the paper coupon? I just found it really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Consumer satisfaction and consumer experience are one of very important process that Mondelez put in place to make sure that we also put a lot of certification, a lot of emphasis on this one. So prior to the digital coupon project, Mondelez is sending a massive amount of paper coupons on almost daily basis, right? We're talking about only U.S., but we're not talking international. It's just U.S. A massive amount of paper-based coupon to the consumer. So we don't have a lot of insight in terms of how the consumers redeem those coupons and where those consumer redeem. We don't even know whether consumer ever redeem any of the coupons, because we all know it. Most consumers are going to be throw away the coupons once they pick up from the mailbox. So in order to do a complete change into consumer satisfaction, we come up with idea to move away from paper coupon into a digital format. So, and we are been working with SKUX, one of the implementation partner from Hedera, back August last year, and we're putting those ideas. The process itself is very simple. So we're trying to make sure that we can utilize Hedera platform to building a more scalable solution on top of this. So just giving a sense, some of the statistics, we've been live digital coupon both in US and Canada. And we're going to move into Latin American space, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina next year. And then from some of the very interesting statistic point of view, right? So a paper-based coupon, average consumers take 7 to 10 days to redeem a coupon. And using our digital solution, it's take 20 seconds. And we also have a complete insight how the consumer redeem those coupons, which retail store redeem it. We don't know yet which product they can buy, but this is going to be the next functionality. We're looking for it. But we pretty much know which retail store redeem it, Walmart, Target, or CVS. And we also know how fast the redeem process happens, right? As of today, it's almost average redeem time is about 20 to 30 seconds. Because the consumer only needs a phone, right, to click that link to add that digital coupons into their wallet. And it will also have a conversion rate, almost like 90%. So basically, all the digital coupon we're sending out, 90% out of it can be redeemed by consumer, which we don't have the statistic in the paper-based coupon. So just give you some of the highlights of this transformational process we've been using through the digital coupon.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's pretty impactful. And May, I think most people that utilize the Hedera network typically use Hashpack. It's most people know this as the entry point into Hedera. So a lot of consumers using the Hedera network typically have Hashpack on their phone. From a consumer engagement standpoint, do you feel that the Web3 native consumers that are entering through your platform are typically looking for some of the same advantages that Xiang just covered around faster settlement? Are they looking for gamification reward? What is it that the Web3 consumer is looking for by utilizing Hashpack, and how could that interface when you start talking to larger brands yourself? Yeah. What are some of those gamification or reward features that you could bring to, brands like Mondelez or others in the ecosystem?
Well, I think that the consumer engagement question, when it comes to businesses engaging with their customers, is very interesting from a Web3 perspective, because Web3 as a microcosm of culture is all about being in tune with the community of that company. And, you're talking with the head of Cardano or the head of Hedera when you're buying into their token, for example. And so you've got this idea of tribalism in crypto, where people are very they are very emotionally attached to whatever L1 that they are doing. And that's seen as a very negative thing. It's kind of, you see a lot of toxicity in the space and a lot of that kind of stuff that goes into the mainstream media. But I think that is, like what was said in one of the earlier panels, it's just kind of noise. It's really what you're seeing is the advantages that Web3 can give to the consumer to make them feel more attached to the brands that they're engaging with, and ways for the brands to engage more with their customers. And if you look at this from a Web2 perspective, from a mainstream perspective, there are lots of industries that have very fanatical fan bases, sports teams, fashion brands, that kind of thing, where people really identify with the products that they are getting. And Web3, when you peel back the sort of fanaticism of it, and you use what the technology offers you, I think it opens a lot of doors with how you can engage with people who own your product. Just like Xiang said, you don't know who redeems your paper coupons, but you absolutely do know who purchases your digital asset. And if that digital asset is transferred and perhaps bought by somebody else because it's a liquid asset, you now know who owns it. And now you have access to the information of who your most biggest fans are, your super fans, who are the ones that are bringing the most value to your customers. And actually at Hashpack ourselves, we are a wallet company, which has a very big fan base on Hedera. People love Hashpack. I've been to conferences and people are like, oh, you're May. Oh, I see you all the time. Just to put into perspective, I run a wallet. When has been the last time you've met the person who wrote your bank app and been excited, right? This is unheard of, but it's because Web3 offers a chance for us to engage with people. And I think when you understand that power, then as a brand that engages with your consumers, you can make it into something that is responsible, that is value add on both sides. And I think that's the real benefit here that is untapped.
Yeah, I think that's huge. The community excitement around Web3 products in particular is quite insane. And I mean, Rob, on I don't want to say the boring side, but let's say the national payment infrastructure data that comes through from debit cards. I think one of the questions I'd have for you is, utilizing this technology, how much of that really matters to the consumer themselves when they are trusting in the national payment infrastructure? Do you go to market by saying, this is protected by Hedera, this is protected by a DLT? Or in your particular case, are you looking to obfuscate the technology itself and just have it be an everyday transaction for the user?
Yes, I think we will. We've got a banking app, but I was going to say the writer of the banking app doesn't get into the ring at Karate Combat and win, which is pretty amazing. Eh? I think the jury's out on whether we will say this is trusted because it's on Hedera. I'd love to say that, of course, because everyone knows that I'm a massive advocate for the technology. We've heard a lot today about stablecoins. And stablecoins as the killer use case or the killer app. I just see stablecoins as the capability layer on top of these new rails. And in payments are all about rails. So these are the new rails. And stablecoins and other forms of digital money are the new primitives that run on those rails. So we absolutely need to have a role to play in that. Now, from the consumer perspective, I mean, AP Plus has 3 core objectives. We're building trust in the payments ecosystem. We're driving down the cost of payments. And we're innovating. Now, those are 3 things, all of which we absolutely do in the DLT and Hedera space. So Hedera, which is our choice of DLT at the core, on which we will innovate. We can drive down the cost of payments because the cost of running any transaction on Hedera is orders of magnitude less than traditional payments rails, as well as other blockchains of various flavor. And trust is inherent in we are the trust layer of the internet. We like to say so trust is inherent. So those 3 core pillars are addressed through the adoption of technology like Hedera. Now, should the consumer know about that? Probably not. We don't tell them what databases we use or what payment gateways we use or what host providers or cloud-based services we use. So should we? Well, I think maybe we should, but we should certainly leverage all of the massive positive beneficial factors that Hedera brings. And that's what consumers really care about, right? They may not worry too much whether the cost of a payment is 5 cents or 1/10 of a cent. I suspect businesses will. I know businesses will because I speak to them all the time. But in terms of individual payments for coffee or payments for normal retail uses, probably not initially. But where they will be interested and where our focus groups and our proofs of concept have really resonated is where we can bring new use cases to bear. So where we can stream value for micropayments. So you can stream money for streamed content, pay per page, pay per second, pay per track, pay per anything really. Because you're driving down the cost of payments. So now it's commercially viable to actually run these new use cases without, ads or subscription services getting in the way. This friction you want to remove from the system, and that's where consumers benefit. Also, things like cross-border payment, which really are driven, the cost is driven down, and that was mentioned earlier. Again, stable coins and other forms of digital money. We talk about stable coins as a kind of catch-all, but there are deposit tokens, which are claims against a bank's balance sheet rather than against some kind of fiat in escrow. So different forms of digital money. We're seeing tokenized money market funds. I don't know whether Duncan's still in the audience here, but money market funds tokenized effectively give you a new form of digital money that is yield bearing. So you're actually getting rewards or interest on holding these forms of currency, which you can then exchange in familiar ways. So there's all this added value that you can add on top of use of DLT for payments, which actually I think is very sexy and very cool and not boring at all.
Yeah, I think one of the other pieces to that is, the security, and especially when you're talking about the consumer holding PII, holding information. Xiang, you had talked about just the level of fraud that comes in when you're talking about couponing in general is an area that's always been an interest to you. And I found it really interesting, the amount of fraud that actually happens with that really, really, because especially at the scale that you're working with, has a huge negative impact on some of the brands if it isn't handled properly. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, just go back to the example of paper-based coupons. So basically, everyone can just do a photocopy and go to Walmart or Target and to redeem it. You can never verify with this accuracy. So now with digital, you instantly kill the potential very easy fraud process. But I just want to add to what Rob said, right? So, being with Mondelez only a year and a half. So before that, I spent 20 years in high tech. So the one most impressive things I've learned in a CPG company is the massive amount of transactions. The number of transactions running, whether it's a consumer base or the customer base, with it's incomprehensive. Sometimes you just feel like just one of those examples, cross-border payment, right? We have to talking about internet as well, try to build one use case on that as well. And it's almost like consensus within business that's a certain business hurdle that we always are running on a daily basis, right? So it's high transaction fee and multiple days of clearing fees. So all those things happens every day on the transaction in huge volumes. In order to prevent from that happening or to reduce the cost, inefficiency, and there's a potential to running those stablecoin-based Web3 applications. So those areas we see huge potential as well, and we try to address some of the use case using DLT platform.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things you can unlock using a DLT platform that are really helpful. And I know, Rob, you've worked on some loyalty and reward schemes, recently. What are some of the advantages that you've seen on maybe some of the things that using a DLT to run those programs actually activate that isn't possible with traditional technology?
Yeah, we a couple of our projects focused on the problems to solve in the cash rewards or cashback type systems, which are broken. They're not typical rewards programs, but it's where you get a marketing budget to fund a cash back for having purchased a thing. A pair of Adidas sneakers, for example, I've spent $400, I get $40 back to go and spend. But it's a cash reward, and it's not tying me into actually spending that with Adidas. So I go and spend it on my groceries or something. It's a very leaky system. It's a broken system. There's no stickiness or loyalty kind of embedded within that system. But if you tokenize that cash reward, you can actually program that money to, in our case, provide a bit of an uplift when I spend it back with Adidas or with a retailer that participates in some kind of affiliate program. That then encourages me to actually spend that $40 back for $45 or $50, and everyone wins, because at the moment no one wins except for the customer, right? The marketing budget, has gone from the brand. The retailer doesn't get any benefit from getting the footfall, and I go and spend it on groceries. But if I spend it back, then the cost to the brand and the retailer are really cost of goods, not with margin, and I get the benefit of the additional reward. So we've tested that. We've tested that through all those digital businesses that I talked about. We've got some identity aspects in there. We've got the wallet, and we've got the rails using the stablecoins. So Hedera Stablecoin Studio enables us very easily to create stablecoins that are matched to those sorts of use case. And then because they're tokenized, well, firstly because it's on Hedera, you can do micropayments out of the box. Stablecoins doing micropayments is pretty cool anyway. But then you add the rewards kind of aspects on top, so the programmability. Take it a step forward, you can start adding additional layers of value onto those same tokens as well. So they can become very contextual. We ran another project very recently, which is resonating with some of our retailing members. So we've got two of the biggest retailers in Australia, Woolworths and Coles, as members of our schemes, and they run payment switches. But of course, the majority of Australians shop with those two retailers. We are encouraging positive behaviors through the recycling of plastic bottles. So the plastic bottles give us a return. And because the source of that token can be identified as being a kind of an environmental impact positive source, then those retailers are giving us additional benefit for having spent those micropayments back with them. So you can kind of riff on all sorts of different ways. And that's what we're doing at the moment. We're seeking to find the right fit that enables the consumers to actually be engaged in a way which the retailers and the outlet can encourage them to come back and spend their money.
Yeah, and I mean, that obviously sounds like there's a lot of kind of developing technology along with DLT, so possibly the use of AI and understanding a lot of these systems moving forward as well. And May, I'm going to turn to you on this one as the last question. We'll take a couple questions from anyone in the audience. But like you'd mentioned before, a lot of the standards, a lot of things that started out in Hedera, you and your team were responsible for. And I think, every time me and you have our calls, you're always building something new. And it's always something new. It's always something great. And typically it's something I've never heard of. And so I'm going to turn to you for this question is, when it comes to more of the emerging technologies, maybe applied to the consumer space, maybe not. And of course, we have to mention AI. That's like a required topic in 2024. How that might be coming down the pipeline and implementation for Hashgraph or Hashpack or any of the other things that you're working on.
Well, I think Rob actually touched on a few really cool ways that you can engage your consumers. And I guess I'll talk from personal experience with what we've built at Hashpack. Earlier this year, we launched a token. It's called Pack Token, and it's a loyalty rewards token, which hits the consumer engagement part perfectly. And I'm going to explain what we do so you can see the possibility of how you can use this kind of technology to engage and provide value to your users in a way that isn't breaking the bank, isn't eating out of your marketing budget, profusely. So what we have is a way to swap in wallet. You can swap your tokens in a DeFi way. And whenever you swap inside of Hashpack, you get some pack as a reward. We call it Packback Rewards. It's a simple loyalty scheme. And when you want to buy something inside of the wallet, we for example, we sell themes, cosmetics inside of Hashpack. Our plan is to allow you to buy that with PAC, and you could buy it with fiat. We could buy it with US dollars, but because it's inside of our wallet, you could buy it with our PAC, which you got through a reward, or you could purchase it from someone else who has it. And then another interesting thing that's happened is that people have started to use PAC for their marketing schemes in their platforms on DeFi because PAC has a brand value. And we have NFTs that are sort of our membership club NFTs. And people have started to implement, so we have membership NFTs right now. They give you a special cosmetic in your Hashpack. And they also let you visit a special part of our Discord that only members that have that NFT have. And that's something that's discussed in these kind of consumer engagement things all the time. But what's interesting is that in Hedera, there are also sites that are adding in those NFTs as special membership NFTs for their own sites because there's brand value. And so one of the things that DLTs, distributed ledgers, gives you is access to collaboration across the entire ecosystem. And that is very powerful and something that doesn't exist in Web 2 and very, very exciting. And so when we see I'm just going to bring it very quickly, Starbucks loyalty program, Nike Creator Rewards, all of these are siloed platforms that use NFT technology, DeFi technology, but they're all siloed on their platforms because these companies are very careful about what they're doing. They don't want to break the box too much. But this is the possibility of what you can do in the future. Collaborations make it very easy. Writing the standards so that everybody who uses NFTs can now see NFTs and use them on their platforms, which is what I wrote. I wrote the standards on NFTs and got it picked up across the entire ecosystem. That is the way I think we should look for towards all of the different kind of assets. And that's not a winning thing. That's everybody who is working on RWAs getting together and coming up with something that works for everybody. That's a robust thing. That's kind of my jam. So sorry, I would go on about that forever, but
no,
exciting.
You mentioned Starbucks there, which is really interesting. And that's one of the case studies I've worked on in the past few years was the partnership between Starbucks and Spotify and how difficult legally that was for them to pull off 18 months sharing PII between the two organizations. Could have been done on a DLT in 7 days. And it's because you can hash that data. You don't have to give away PII. You can share on a mutual advertising platform where now you're agreeing we'll utilize this platform with each other's users, but we don't have to necessarily hold the risk of their data. So that's a really interesting thing. And I know that American Express and some of the airlines have been dabbling and thinking about creating, if they come together and they agree to share hashed information, create their own marketing platform. Now they have kind of an elite travel platform where nobody's sharing the risk of PII. It's actually housed in a completely secure way. So we are wrapping up. Is there any questions out there that we may be able to answer, Simon?
Just to flesh out one point that was tangentially made, but I think it bears emphasis, is that with the cashback programs, a lot of times in the countries, the accounting will say that for every, let's say, dollar you have in cash back, you need to reserve $1 on your books. So one of the beautiful things about these crypto-backed programs is that you create the crypto. So if you're using the Rob's Adidas example, if Adidas has $200 million worth of cash back out, then that $200 million is frozen in their balance sheet and they can't use it. Whereas if it's crypto back instead of cash back, then they can that frees up the $200 million for other productive uses. So it's just another compelling reason to do the cash back system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was gonna. That's one of the biggest challenges that Delta Sky Miles has mentioned in the past is that they don't know when somebody's going to redeem their points. They always have to account for them, and so there's always money that's sitting there that is not being put to use, and it's always been one of their biggest frustrations.
It's called breakage, and it sits on the balance sheet for a very long time.
Jim?
Yeah, great job, panel. I wanted to just have a little segue from what he was saying, Meg. Maybe, Rob, you could address this. So we're seeing this idea of like meme coins representing a community and really kind of a cultish. And in fact, people leaning in, like really as part of the DNA of a community. So my question is, do you see an opportunity to kind of use that at enterprise? Like could you use it? Because, big enterprises are kind of like, massive villages. I mean, it's not like one kind of homogenous community. It's actually, like, IBM as an example, we often used to sound, it's like a country. So do you see opportunities for that where it can be used more of an enterprise use case, maybe with less of the noise of a meme coin?
Do you want to address them as meme coins so those people who may not?
Meme coins being tokens that don't really have a value except for the value that is imparted by the brand itself. I think that, we are going to move into a state where like the craze of crypto trading aside, a token only has as much value as whatever is behind it imparts on it. And this doesn't have to be monetary. And in fact, I would argue that PAC is not really about that. It's about being part of this community and having, like, because you have this much, or because you hold it, or because you use it, you are now engaged with us as a brand and with what we're about and what we're doing. And I spend a lot of time collaborating with other projects in the space to find ways for people to use their platform. So if a platform is launching on Hedera, maybe there's a way to use PAC token, and then that kind of acts as a bridge to introduce our users to their users, and vice versa, right? I think that brand value is really what we're going to see when it comes to the future of this, where we're away from the gambling of, people are probably going to give me flack in my community about that kind of thing. But value is really the important part here. So if you as a company that are releasing a token, there's some value behind it that means something, that isn't just you can sell it later for more, but it means something. I think that that's where an enterprise can find a lot of use for it and bring value to their customers.
I think that's a great point. So meme coins are this cycle's NFTs, and in the same way as the last cycle's NFTs actually weren't just fun and froth. They actually created an understanding of what a non-fungible token could be used for, which is basically everything that's tokenized that isn't fungible is by definition non-fungible, and therefore there are a lot of learnings that came out of that. I think this cycle with meme coins is that these are community coins. I mean, May said in exactly the same way. She's issued PAC, and because it's on a public ledger, all these unexpected things have happened with it because it's a public ledger, and it's, the property right of that token is with the person who's holding it in their wallet. So you can't tie them to a particular use of those coins. And that's the really interesting thing about Web3 is it's very much community based, and the communities can do whatever they like. And so meme coins are community coins ultimately, and potentially brand coins. Sorry.
Yeah,
Charles.
No, I was going to say one of the simplest ways to break this down, and I talked about this earlier today, is the cult culture community economy. So cult and culture is typically pretty easy. That's where you get your meme coins that don't have intrinsic value behind them. Cult, you move into culture. Now there's a lot of people starting to say, hey, what's this all about? Community is probably the most difficult hurdle that most coins never get past. Once you get that community in place, then you have to think, now I have a city, how do I create the economy? So the community and economy portion almost never gets built. It's very difficult to do. But we have run out of time, so I do want to thank our panelists here.